Hi, my name is Mary Ellen Smith, and I am a kindergarten teacher with Kingsport City Schools. And I am here today to answer some questions that you might have about enrolling your child in kindergarten. So the first question is, how do I or when do I enroll my child for kindergarten? This year, 2021, we will be enrolling students on April the 7th. From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at your home school, so the school that your child is zoned for. You do need to bring with you a few items to that registration. Number 1, you need your child's birth certificate. Number 2, you need proof of your residency. Number 3, you need the last 4 numbers of your child's Social Security. And finally, if you already have had your child's wellness checkup for 5 years with their vaccination record, you want to go ahead and bring proof of immunization from the Tennessee Department of Health. That's the Tennessee Department of Health immunization form, as well as proof that they've had a physical. If you have not had that yet, that's okay. The immunization form and physical form can be turned in closer to the beginning of school or sometime during the summer, but you do need to bring birth certificate, proof of residency, and Social Security when you come on April 7th. All right, another question we have is, what should parents do if they have zoning questions? Or what do I do if I want my child to go to a different school than we are zoned for? The first thing you'll want to do is go to the Kingsport City Schools website. And that website is K as in Kingsport, K12K.com. And that is going to provide you many resources that you may be interested in looking at. There is a form on the website for zoning exceptions, and you have to fill out that request. The request opens up in March, so as soon as March, you can go ahead and go on the website and fill that out. And then the closing date to have that request in is May 1st. So anywhere from March to May 1st, you need to fill out that zoning request form if you would like your child to attend a different school in Kingsport City Schools. Requests are reviewed over the summer, and they are based on enrollment space at each school. Slots may become available as we get closer to the opening of school. All right, next up, what skills does my child need to know before they come to kindergarten, or what can I work with my child with over the summer? As a teacher, I get this question quite a bit. And the number one answer I give is we have job security by teaching your child how to read and write, so they don't have to know a lot of academic skills before they come to kindergarten. But what I would encourage you to work on, one, is reading to your child daily. The majority of language that your child will have in order to express themselves and to comprehend books that we're going to read at school comes from the conversations you have at home. So the more you read to your child, the better they are prepared for success in school. And then the second thing I tell parents is independence. Working with your child to be as independent as possible. Some of the things that you may not have considered, but that are super important for your child to be independent with, are things like getting in and out of the restroom independently. Can they zip and unzip, button and unbutton? Can they wipe by themselves? Do they know good hygiene, how to wash their hands thoroughly when they are done? Do they know how to blow their nose and throw away the tissue? I know those seem like silly things, but they're super important. Also, as we get into cooler temperatures, we do go outside to play daily as long as the temperature is above freezing. So putting on a jacket and taking it off, successfully getting a sleeve that may be inside out righted and put on all by themselves, those are super important because a lot of times there's 20 other students in the class with them, maybe just one adult. So giving your child independence would be the greatest gift you can give. I often recommend that parents go ahead and set up a little space in your home for their backpack and things that they can be responsible for those items. So just making them responsible for things that they are capable of doing for themselves. As far as academic skills, I would encourage you to help your child with reading and writing their name. So writing our name is super important, but also being able to read it when they see it. So when your teacher labels the classroom and they label your child's place to hang up their coat, the place for your child to put their lunchbox, and the place for your child to sit, it'll be super important that your child is able to recognize their name. Oftentimes 4 and 5-year-olds will just recognize the first letter in their name and think they know that it's their name. So it's important to make sure they know beyond the first letter of their name. That would be a good one to work on. And then it never hurts to practice your ABCs and your 1, 2, 3s. Practice counting and singing the alphabet song, but certainly don't stress on those things. We will be practicing them lots when they get here. Finally, I encourage you just to count with your child. Counting is so important, and it's a great thing to do when you're running errands in the car or anywhere else. Those are all little academic things that would be super helpful. Finally, drawing. Drawing helps tremendously with your child getting fine motor skills in those finger muscles and just being ready to hold a pencil and learn to write. So also, if your child is still grasping a pencil with their whole fist and they're not using finger muscles, whether it's these two or just these two, to grasp the pencil, you might want to try allowing them to play with Play-Doh more or Legos. Anything that requires them to pinch is going to build those muscles, and they're really important to writing. Believe it or not, without that muscle strength, you're not going to be successful when it comes to writing with a pencil or a crayon. All right, next up, when will I find out who my child's teacher is? That's a great question. This year, 2020, we will be mailing out letters around the 20th of July, so it is very close to when school starts before you find out. Also, many schools in Kingsport City offer a kindergarten kind of get to know you or kindergarten play day so that they can get to know the students a little bit before they arrive and maybe group those students. Now, with COVID concerns, that's really up in the air at this point. We do not know for sure what this school year will look like, okay? So that normal is that we do try to invite kindergarten families to come to school before the first day so that you can kind of get to know the teachers and teachers can get to know the students a little bit. But again, if with the concern of COVID, if that's still an issue in the summer, that may not be possible. All right, next up. Can I walk my child to class on their first day? So typically the answer is always yes. We encourage families to come with their child on the first day of kindergarten. That's a very big, important step in most children's lives. Unfortunately, due to COVID this past school year, that was not a possibility. It's up in the air for 2021-22 school year. So I can't definitely answer that for you, but that would be a great question as we get closer to the school year. You can ask your school secretary or your school administrator of your home school. Just check with them and see what the policy is going to be closer to the school year. Usually, if all is well and we are back to some sort of normal in our new school year, we encourage families, like I said, to come on the first day, and then it's okay to continue to maybe walk into the school building with your child and maybe stand and watch them walk to their classroom. We want to basically encourage you to give yourself a week, whether it's you that needs the week or your child that needs the week or both. We understand it's a big transition for many families, but we encourage you after that first week to let them be independent and do it themselves. You will be amazed that they really can. And we're prepared for tears and tantrums and all kinds of emotions that little people have when they're doing something new for the first time. So let us handle it the best way. All right. What if a child's birthday is a few days off of the birthday cutoff? Or I want to see if my child can test into kindergarten early. So we've had several parents ask about that last year, and or parents that have been curious about that over the years. We have a director of early childhood for Kingsport City Schools, and her name is Dr. Amy Doran. And Dr. Doran is the person that you would need to talk to about that. You can email Dr. Doran at adoran, D as in dog, O-R-A-N, at k12k.com and ask for one of those screenings, or you could call the Palmer Center, and that is where her offices are located. The number for the Palmer Center is 423-378-2160, and you would ask to speak to Dr. Doran. Dr. Doran would do a screening test to determine if your child is ready for kindergarten. And she could also give you much more information on that if you are curious. All right, what does a typical day in kindergarten look like? So that's a great question as well. In Kingsport City, as well as across the United States, kindergarten is no longer what it probably was when you were little. I know it's not what it was when I was little, but that was eons ago. Kindergarten used to be a half day for some of us, definitely not mandatory for a lot of us. And there were naps and, dress-up boxes and a lot of playtime structured into a kindergarten day. And boy, has it changed. So a typical day in kindergarten is some hard work. Students are going to be expected, and they have blocks of instruction. There is about 90 minutes or an hour and a half of our day that we spend doing math. So that's going to be right where they need to be. It's going to be a lot of counting at the beginning of the year and learning to write numbers and that sort of thing. And then it's going to grow at quite a rapid rate until we are adding and subtracting numbers within 10 and learning about place value by the end of the year. So kindergarten has a steep learning curve, so to speak. But we try to make it fun, and we do try to make it child appropriate and play-based as much as possible for those little guys. But about 90 minutes of math instruction daily. And then we have about 2 hours of reading and writing instruction during the day. So quite a bit of the school day is actually spent learning. So your child is going to be tired when they get home. We do have time for lunch. We have time for a snack break. We have time for about 45 minutes to an hour for classes that we call related arts classes. That means once a week, your child will actually daily, your child will go to some kind of enrichment class. So there's art, PE, music, library, and then a guidance class as well. So lots of good enrichment classes for your child. They'll get to do those daily. And then also some science and social studies sprinkled in there for good measure. Recess, of course, but not as much recess as you would expect. All right. Lastly, what supplies will my child need for kindergarten, and where can I find a supply list? You're going to need to go to k12k.com, that website for Kingsport City Schools, and look under the Families tab, and that will tell you the current list. It usually doesn't change, but looking on the website just to make sure that you have the updated list. I hope that this has answered all of your questions and maybe more, and we are so excited to see your kindergartner this coming year.